Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Connect Cape Fear podcast, a show where locals, travelers, and newcomers from all over come to find connection and community in this great place that we call home. Our guest today is Drew Smith, the Director of Communications with Copiers Plus. Drew, welcome to the show.
I appreciate having me on.
Yeah, man. We had a lot of fun stuff that we were talking about off camera.
Nope.
So let's see if we can just continue the conversation on camera.
Let's do it.
Drew, you've been in the Wilmington area. Surprise, ladies and gentlemen, he came to Wilmington for UNCW and then decided to stay. We never hear that story on this podcast ever at all. How'd you get here? Tell us your journey to get to Wilmington.
Yeah, so I grew up vacationing here with my parents, and they are also UNCW alumni. So, always had a special place in my heart for Wilmington. And then I started here in 2010. I was a spring admit, so my grades weren't like super crazy. So I came in January of 2010 and loved it. Never wanted to leave.
Yep.
So, I would go visit Fayetteville on long breaks or whatever, but always made my way back. And here I am today. Met my wife there. She was a couple years behind me. But yeah, we're just a bunch of Seahawks in the family. I do think, and I'm not saying anything against people of Fayetteville at all whatsoever. Wilmington has a little bit more to offer than Fayetteville.
Is it? Can you say that?
Well,
I don't want any of your old buddies from back home to be like, what the heck, Drew?
Well, I will say that we have a beach, and that's, hard to trump.
Right. And impossible to fake, too. You can't be in a landlocked place and be like, well, we got a lake. Well, it's still not a beach. Yeah.
But I will say the people in Fayetteville are great, and I had a ton that came to Wilmington and stayed here. So we have like a Fayetteville clique within Wilmington.
Nice.
And it's really
just start a new neighborhood in Wilmington.
Exactly.
Fayetteville 2.0.
We share the same area code, so we're basically the same.
Yeah. I love it. Tell us about Copiers Plus. We were talking about it's a family-owned business. Did you start working there immediately out of school? Okay.
I did. There was like maybe a couple months where I didn't do anything.
Yeah, gap months.
Yeah. So I graduated in December of 2013, and then I started in February of 2014.
Was it always your plan to go work for a family business?
I think I always knew I was going to end up there. Just didn't know the track.
Yeah.
And, was there a position going to be open? What would that position be? So I went to school for marketing. I was a communication studies major.
Yeah, fist bump for that.
Yeah,
you and
right?
me both, buddy. Yeah, we can. Yes, you can do something with our major.
Exactly. You can do anything you want.
Literally anything. As long as you know how to talk, you can be a communications grad.
Exactly.
And do something with your life.
Yeah. So,
contrary to what my dad told me when I was going through my undergrad program.
Yeah. Well, how many of y'all marketers actually use that calculus they made you get?
Yeah,
not
right?
Many. Not many. I did that route. But at first, what I started with was sales. So I had a territory, parts of Wilmington up into Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And I already knew the business, but I had to dive into what the products were,
right, what
the technology was at the time, how a service contract worked. So there was a lot of learning curve on, okay, I know the gist, but what are the details that match up with the different offices?
Right.
Because each, situation was different. So I had to learn that, but then I also had to learn sales.
Yeah.
Because, I had an idea, but I didn't have any formal training on it. So that was a learning curve. But as time progressed, I was able to move into a marketing role within the company and director of communications.
Yeah.
And that's really where I think my skills are more aligned. But that sales experience was invaluable.
Yeah.
Just the same way growing up working in the warehouse or, helping on deliveries or whatever it would be that summer where I was working. I remembered that, how to, work UPS orders, and just kind of taking that experience from the different sectors and seeing how it all works together.
Right.
Gives you a better appreciation of how to do your role.
Makes you much more well-rounded, if anything. Did you grow up in the business? Like when you were a kid, you said your grandfather started it, right? Your dad works there too. You guys have been in business since 1985. Were you like a little guy going to the office and getting that firsthand experience growing up?
Yes. So my dad joined my grandfather a year after he started. So started in 85. My dad started in 86. I was born in 91. So I was always there. My grandmother was there. My aunt. My uncle now has joined us, brother-in-law. So it's a family affair, but definitely growing up, I was always at the office and always wanted to go to the office because there was a lot more square footage of open area where I could throw a ball against the wall.
Get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and the old school had an old school like vacuum cleaner that didn't have to be plugged in. You just rolled it over.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
Oh, that was my jam. Yeah. I don't think it actually worked.
We got to do a sidebar real quick. Do you still like vacuuming to this day?
Well, no, because my sister ruined that for me. She was the perfectionist of the family, and I would be assigned a chore of vacuuming.
Yeah.
And then she would go behind me and
vacuum.
like,
you're not good enough.
This is pointless. I'm not going to vacuum anymore. So to this day, vacuuming is a sore subject. But
it's the only chore my wife can get me to do. With
the one
with joy.
that doesn't have to be plugged in, I'll do it all day long. That's fun stuff.
Dude, that's what I was getting. I don't know why this isn't relevant where people are going to tune out because we're talking about vacuum cleaners now. But my wife just bought me like a cordless lithium ion battery like vacuum cleaner, and I'm going everywhere that I have more fun than I've had in a long time vacuuming.
My wife is big into the vacuum cleaners. We've had multiple since we were married 8 years ago, and they all vacuum.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
They all do the job.
They all vacuum.
They all do the job. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you there. Me chasing this down a rabbit
salesman,
hole.
Vacuum salesman. Yeah. We have a long history of emerging past.
Dude, so tell me, because like it's really unusual to see in a city like Wilmington, growing city, a family business that has so many family members employed in it. Those things aren't as typical as they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. What's it like working in a family business like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, you already know your employees, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot more than just actual family members.
Yeah.
So we have about 50 employees, but there's challenges and there's benefits. Like you already know the personalities and what makes each other tick or not. But it's I call my dad and we have a conversation about work, and there's very few times where the conversations don't mix into other things.
Yeah.
So it's not as formal as like a corporate structure.
Right.
There's a lot of just relaxed environment. Mm-hmm. There's still standards that you're held to and that you're supposed to meet, but at the same time, our employees are our family, literally and figuratively. I mean, we want to treat them like that, and to be on top of them in a way that we wouldn't treat each other just doesn't vibe. So I think that laid backness has a connotation, but just that easygoing, but with standards and with passion and integrity, that's hard to beat.
Yeah.
And there's some flexibility. There's some just ability to try new things. I think that's the biggest thing. It's just knowing that you're supported and you're not held under a microscope nonstop because there's a corporate overlooking you.
Yeah.
We have a corporate office, but we have 50 employees and we're all kind of together. There's geographical differences, but nobody's hounding you down to trying to make sure like you're working down to the last
Did you
second.
submit this TPS report that I requested?
Yeah. So like there's that flexibility. And we deal with a great brand. We sell Kyocera, and they've been a great partner with us. We've had them since the beginning. They've gone through some acquisitions or whatever. They used to be Mita, and then Kyocera Mita, and now Kyocera. But I think that partnership itself too is a good way of approaching things, because we are a local company, local to Wilmington, local to North Carolina, with a global product. But so many of our competitors are a global product selling a global product.
Yeah.
So trying to force a global entity into a local space versus being a local company with the backing of a global company.
Right.
Like that's a big difference. You can have a very big footprint and have great support when you're already into the communities that you serve.
Yeah.
And then you're relying on, the big boys to support you through it.
Yeah.
And that's I think the most beneficial thing for our company versus say one of our competitors.
Sure.
is that symbiotic relationship we have with Kyocera, and that we've had since day one. That's it only boosts the family business side, because we're able to just worry about what we do really well and creating those relationships and staying, integrity focused, and then relying on, we know that the products are going to be good. We know that relationship we have with Kyocera is strong, and that's kind of spurred our growth over the years.
Nice. So are you still a growth industry? Is it still like, with somebody who's watching this, they might be like, nobody's buying copiers anymore. We got AI and everything's Adobe DocuSign and this tech and that tech designed to reduce all of that or eliminate that altogether. That's not what you're seeing, though.
No. So there's more to it than just copiers as well. So one thing we look at is documents as a whole. So how you manage your documents, whether that's scanning, printing, copying, faxing, shredding. There's all these different stages of a document. Now, to a degree, most companies aren't using filing cabinets as a mainstay of their processes.
Right.
They're definitely still there. And for those that have them there, we ask, well, what's your plan for those documents? How do they need to live in the digital world? We can do that. We can, take those documents into a cloud, get them synced up to your software programs that you use, your ERPs, your CRMs, all those acronyms. We can do that higher level stuff. We can do just basic scanning procedures. We can bring in zonal OCR to where it, you can put your document into the feeder on the copier, and it read like the invoice number, the customer name, the dollar amount, and it can route automatically to folders that's within your process.
Nice.
So there's a lot of things that you can get into, but then there's still the dynamic of people still use paper, people still print out things, and they need that access. How could you be a lawyer and do everything with all the casework and forms and everything else, and you never print anything out?
Right.
My eyes hurt from just thinking about how much you have to look.
I've limited myself to screen time. Like, I physically limit myself to screen time, because if I don't, I'll be staring at it all day long.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to look at the computer for that long.
Just think about some of the things that have come back into play over the past few years. Like retro is making a way back into the scene. Well, I was talking about that earlier. I think that's, hitting on a bigger point of, we don't want to live in a digital world nonstop.
Yeah.
So if you're staring at your computer screen 8 hours a day, when you look at that document and you need to be creative or you need to take notes on it, is it always the best option?
Mm-hmm.
Or what if you could print it out, go outside, take notes on it?
Yeah, right.
What if you could just get it away from the screen, not be limited to, how good you are at formatting in Word or Google Docs.
I hate all that stuff.
And you just circle things. And then you can scan it back in. You can send it to the people. And now with the technology that there is, it can pick up handwriting. It can do all these things. So it just allows you to be more flexible in how you work, more creative, but then focused on your workflows and different ways to approach it. So one of our biggest savers for people is our print management program. So we call it Managed Print Services. And what it does is it looks at everything in your office that can output paper. Mm-hmm. So printers and scanners and copiers. So everybody calls copiers different things.
Yeah.
So let me get it out of the way. Copy machine, copier machine, copier, printer machine. Did I say copy machine? Photocopy
possibly.
Machine.
Yeah.
SEO is a nightmare for me.
Yeah.
Because everybody, and a lot of people.
Is that
just
a regional thing? I've always just called it a copier.
Office printer.
If I heard somebody say copy machine, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Please, guys, it's not a Xerox. That
Xerox is a brand, right?
That's a brand.
Kleenex, Xerox. There's so many of them that have done that have just taken the thing and replaced it with the brand. Tylenol is one,
So if you want to call it a brand, call it a Kyocera.
Okay.
Brought to you by Copiers Plus.
You heard that here first.
So we're back. But there's all these different things that you can do within an office. But with a printer, just your standard Joe in accounting has a printer on his desk. So how many people are in your office? How many of them have a printer? If we go in and ask, a lot of times people can't even say who has one, how many there are, where they get toner from.
Yeah. It just works. They expect it to work, be there and work with them.
It's bought. It's, ink is bought. Maybe it's the receptionist. Maybe it's the office manager. They're buying it in, bulk packs.
It's the copier fairy.
Yeah, they're buying it in bulk packs to save some money. But what happens is they're not built for the consumption. So you go to an office store, big box store or whatever, or Amazon, and you buy the printer. The printer isn't all that expensive. But when you buy the ink, it is. Mm-hmm. And when you're buying 3 colors and a black and white, and you're spending $200-$300 on ink, and that's only lasting you about 300 to 600-700 pages.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long for those hundreds of dollars to catch up.
Oh, it adds up. Yeah.
So what we do is we do a print analysis for free, comprehensive print analysis, and we go through and we document what everybody has in the organization down to when they press print, what it costs the organization. And then we make our recommendations, and we get the buy-in from you as the customer, and we use your real numbers. So you show the invoices, okay, that's what you do. And we put it into the spreadsheet, we put it into the report. And what you find is, because it's unaudited, because it goes unnoticed, you spend so much more on it. Mm. Because it's just a printer.
Nobody's paying attention
to it.
Right? Yeah. You don't have some one person owning it. Yeah.
And then you start thinking about the vulnerabilities on the security side. Mm-hmm. How many firmware updates it's missed? Is it even compatible with your security solution at the workplace? Mm-hmm. If it's not being managed, it's probably not.
Yeah.
So there's all these different avenues that you can do, but on average, we can see between 15 to 30% of savings per month.
Wow.
Doing that program.
Wow.
And it's a game changer for people if you're coming in and saving them $200, $300, $500 or more a month.
They're more than happy to pay you for what you're doing if it's a net benefit for them in the end, and knowing they can pick up the phone and talk to the guy who started it 40 years ago, I'm sure.
And
in some cases.
The thing is, we're not saying that you got to print like crazy amounts. We're putting the solution that works for you.
Yeah.
if you just need some odds and ends, and maybe you don't need printers on every desk, that's part of the strategy too, because it's not always about more devices. It's about putting the right devices in the right places.
Yeah.
So, okay, maybe this wing needs a color printer or a color copier, but it can be a shared device. That saves you money. Yeah. That saves you money, and the bigger the device, it's usually built to do more. But if you have a desktop color printer in a spot where it's being heavily utilized, right, that's not right. And sometimes all we have to do in some cases is move the stuff around to make it match the organization better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's knowing how our industry works, and matching it to the individuals that we come across. But the thing is, an accountant doesn't need to be worried about their copiers and their printers and how to manage their workflows. We can come in and do that, and we can do it at an affordable rate, a competitive rate, and be a partner that you can trust. The service is going to be on time, and it's going to be dependable.
I love it. I love it. You guys have been in town for coming up on 40 years. We got a couple minutes left. One of the things we like to do when we talk with guests on the show is just talk about the things that you're involved in the community. Having been here, started here, grown up here, I'm sure you guys have touched members of the community many, many, many times throughout the company's 40-year history. But anything in particular that you're working on now, or stuff that you're focusing on in the future?
Yeah, so we've done quite a bit, but one initiative that we are coming out with in the next month or so, we are celebrating our 40th year next November. So we just had our 39th. So in the lead up to that 40th anniversary, we are going to do an initiative where we give back to 40 organizations. And we're still working out some of the details, but we're looking to launch that at our customer appreciation event on December 5th. And we're going to be looking to take in nominations and all across the state and give back to the organizations and those organizations that were brought in by customers that have supported us through this 40-year journey. Nice. And it's really, Kyocera is going to partner with us in it, and we're going to be able to give away $20,000 during the campaign to 40 organizations.
20,000 each to each organization.
No.
Be like, not get in now.
500. Yeah. 500 each, but to 40 organizations. Nice. And then we'll do some rollouts of that as they are awarded. But looking forward to it. Trying to think of a way to celebrate, and really the best way was to not make it inwardly focused, but to give back to those that
have helped you get
our communities that have helped us get here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, man. Drew, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, they want to get in touch with Copiers Plus, what's the best way for them to interact with you?
So my email is drew@copiers-plus.com. You can reach out to me there, but also our website, copiers-plus.com. There's plenty of ways to get in contact with us there. You can request a consultation. You can go down to the location pages and pick out that option. You can give us a call, 800-648-7081. Really, just type in Copiers Plus NC on Google.
Yeah, you already said you got the SEO game dialed in now. So. Man.
There's no such thing of being dialed in SEO. No, you just hang on and hope.
Post and pray. And pray. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Drew Smith with Copiers Plus. I'm your host, Rob Rens with Signal Fire Media. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Connect Cape Fear podcast. Until next time, go out and enjoy this great place that we call home. Support local small businesses like Copiers Plus, and find somebody and give them a helping hand where you can. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next time.
Appreciate it.